Hey, welcome back to the channel. This is the most disturbing videos on the internet today. Let's dive in.
The Romans had more advanced concrete than we do today. Can we fly Katy Perry to space, but we... The Romans had more advanced concrete than we do today. Can we fly Katy Perry to space, but we can't develop better concrete than sword and sandal people? These massive stone blocks are here in Olympia, Washington. We're told that this was all here for a brewery. These massive blocks are across the river and upriver of the brewery. And we're told horse and pioneer buggy people built all of this infrastructure, again, for the brewery. Alongside these ancient stones, there's very good concrete. Very bad concrete. There's modern concrete and ancient concrete right next to each other. But we're told this guy built everything. He sold his old brewery in Montana, moved here because the water was so good, and presumably put those massive sandstone blocks there along with this wooden house and all of this old stone ruins. What's that? Is that also for the brewery? The brewery's like a quarter-mile away. This little brick and concrete castle is on a precarious riverbank. That river's deep and flows fast. There's a waterfall right there. There are these old stone ruins here. Is this all for the brewery? It serves no function now. It's in ruins. This is the brewery. Copper roof brewery. It's all boarded up. Nobody uses it anymore. Makes no sense. It's a 7-story brewery at the turn of the century with Romanesque arches, huge sandstone blocks, and presumably millions of bricks. That's so excessive for a brewery. At the turn of the century, when less than 5,000 people lived here. Need a 7-story castle for a workspace? This was the owner's house. This is what houses looked like in the 1890s. Turn of the century. What's with the ruins? What's with the chimneys? What's going on? Again, guys, I think our history books are totally fake. I think Rome is everywhere. I think it's called Romanesque. That's a sick joke. It's just ancient concrete and brickwork and masonry and stones everywhere. You have these very flimsy history books that are built on stolen valor, conflating founders with builders. There's no explanation for these ruins, and I just thought I might dig down and take a little peek. What I found is that, yeah, it's concrete. It's very strong concrete, you know? It only goes down a little ways. But I tried to break off a piece. You can't break it off. It's built very, very well. Again, with absolutely no explanation. This is not connected to the brewery. This is not connected to anything. It's just ruins here with a big steel pipe. I think a train used to run through here. Like, look, there's so many questions. I think it's unsettling that there's ruins here. There shouldn't be ruins in this part of America. It's supposed to be brand new. The history books are brand new.
Real eyes, real lies, real lies.
So peep this. Y'all see how that says messengers of sympathy and love, servants of parted friends, consolers of the lonely, bond of scattered family, and larger of the common life. So this is the National Postage Museum. You see that staff? That's the staff of Caduceus, which Hermes or Hermes or Mercury holds. And you can kind of tell that, you know, that's that same that symbolism or that God worship. And like, this is basically a temple to Hermes, but you think it's just a museum. But there's literally an inscription to the messenger gods. And what a lot of people don't know is that that's where we get the word angel from. The word angelos, or messenger, was used as the epithet to describe Hermes or Mercury, Nike, and Victory, these minor gods in Greek mythology. So you can see this stuff all throughout DC. It's actually wild. So peep this.
I bet you when you see an ancient building, you're going to look a little tougher at it now. If you're enjoying this video, be sure to hit that like and subscribe button because we do these videos every single day. And I'd love to see you around here. So let's get straight back into action.
Cabbage Patch Kids one is a very interesting one. You find all these old school postcards that have all these cabbages and you have little babies on top of them. And what's interesting is during that time, they're shipping babies around with USPS, which is really strange. You can pull it up. It says 1910 or 1912, whatever. They're shipping babies with USPS. So things are really weird with that. Now, the other thing too is people almost look like they're going to pick children during the Cabbage Patch thing. It's almost like they're advertising these children as if you can buy them and you can pick them up and sell them. And it's like a marketplace for children. So it gets really strange. And, you know, people who are wandering around at this time, it's almost like they're taking in these kids. And what was weird with me when I was getting into the whole Cabbage Patch thing was I was wondering, where are all these kids coming from? Now, this does follow the 1893 World's Fair. It follows right around that time. So it's almost like all these kids appear Now, was there some sort of catastrophe? Was there, a money panic or some sort of thing that happened and then people gave up their kids and decided to sell them? Then the other thing too is the more I would dive into cloning, the harder it would be to find anything of actual clones. So when I was going through all of this and seeing this, the only thing I could find is they talked about using like a serum. Cabbage Patch Kids one is a very interesting one. You find
Talked about using what? What type of cloning process were they doing?
Has so many conspiracies. Jeff Bezos is seen here opening up the door with a special device because it can only be opened from the outside and with the special tool. But literally moments before that, this happened. The door was opened from the inside, and the woman ran to the door and closed it as soon as possible, but everything was captured by the live feeds. So what is actually going on?
And it didn't look like he did much on that bolt to get that door open either, so it's just incredibly suspect. They were more than just temples. You see it electrifying there in the corners? Is this proving that the buildings were conducting?
Why did the city of Bologna in Italy used to have up to 100 towers? And perhaps more importantly, why have most of them been demolished or destroyed, leaving less than 20 standing today? Were these towers evidence of an advanced civilization which existed prior to us? Hence the cover-up of the vast majority of them? They were allegedly built between the 12th and 13th centuries, and according to the official narrative, the reason for their construction isn't clear, but it's presumed they were built for offensive or defensive purposes, or simply just to show off, because we're always told how primitive and simple our ancestors were, despite clearly being light years ahead of us with architecture. And all the holes in the towers that are still standing suggest something may have been removed. Were the towers once ether energy antennas? Why did the city of Bologna...
That's an excellent theory. It did look like something got removed from that giant structure. What did they possibly peel off? If you thought I didn't have an excellent specimen for you today, think again. Feast your eyes on this odd specimen. Splendid cluster of huge spherical orange Thompsonite on Madhya Pradesh, India. Orange Thompsonite. I mean, just looking at it, it's just giving the essence of the cheese puffs. Like a handful of cheese puffs. If I had to name this, a handful of cheese puffs. That is the name. Look how it's just frosted with the sharp light crystals with the green hand covering it. Truly a spectacle. What would you guys name this rock? What would you guys name this specimen? Drop it in the comments below.
This video before it's removed from the internet.
In 1926, they came out with a booklet about how to use sodium bicarbonate as a medicine. Sodium bicarbonate is probably the most useful substance there is. There are books that talk about hundreds of common uses, cleaning the refrigerator, dealing with diaper rash. The list is endless. As a medicine, it is crucial. It also, as a medicine, is the least expensive medicine there is. You can buy 50 pounds for less than $50. So we're talking very inexpensive because it's common baking soda. And yet in injectable form, you have to have a license to use it. though it's very useful taken orally and transdermally, like in baths. In fact, it's so useful I put it in between my toes to control toe fungus in between my toes.
I didn't need to know that. No, I'm just kidding. If somebody might need to hear that.
Baking soda is a very flexible medicine like magnesium. It can be taken orally, it can be used transdermally, it can be injected, it can be nebulized, and there's a company that makes a capsule that combines sodium bicarbonate with glutathione. Break open the capsule and put it into the nebulizer, and you're directly treating the lungs. It is not very well absorbed through oral means, so this transdermal route is a very powerful tool. I recommend sodium bicarbonate baths. I've had, usually I recommend 1 pound or 2 pounds in a bath. I've had people write me, have used up to 5 pounds. And they told me the bicarbonate was coming out of them for 2 weeks afterwards, so I wouldn't recommend so quickly that kind of level. But starting out with 1 pound of sodium bicarbonate and 1 pound of magnesium chloride bath flakes or Dead Sea salt. People have been using for years Epsom salt, which is magnesium sulfate, which is okay, but it just doesn't, the medical effect is not as strong as using magnesium chloride. So these baths are very, very nice. Orally, for cancer, I'm the only doctor in the world who's written a book, a full medical review on sodium bicarbonate, on the simple baking soda. And I always suggest it to be part of a protocol for cancer. This is a very important point because there are many reasons to sustain and quite a bit of clinical and experimental science to sustain Dr. Tullio Simoncini from Rome, his use of sodium bicarbonate in treatment, also in the treatment of kidney disease, also in the treatment of diabetes. In fact, we find that in the 21st century and in the century before, with all of these toxins combining in the face of our nutritional deficiencies, people have become acidic. The modern or normal condition of human beings or of our patients is they're acid. Their whole environment is acidic.
Very interesting theories on baking soda. For entertainment purposes only, do your own research and consult professionals before doing anything.
This footage appears to show La Llorona. It shows her walking around, letting out moaning sounds. Now, thankfully, she doesn't notice the camera filming her, but this footage is just so creepy. Now, if you don't know the story of La Llorona, it's said that a beautiful woman named Maria married a rich man when they had 2 kids. One day, Maria saw her husband with another woman, and in a fit of blind rage, she drowns their family in a river, which she immediately regrets. Unable to save them and consumed by guilt, she drowns herself as well, but is unable to enter the afterlife, forced to be in purgatory and roam this earth until she finds her family.
Somebody call the Ghostbusters and get Llorona up out of here.
His family was driving back home when they were able to see this at a distance, a lady with the white dress that went back. This family was driving back home when they were able to see this at a distance, a lady with the white dress that went back floating into the trees. This family was driving back home.
Looked like it was on a string for a second, but I don't know. It started walking as soon as it hit the ground. The dirt, I should say.
This genuinely makes no sense at all. What kind of optical illusion is this? It's so far away. That doesn't make any sense. Hold on. I'm doing it again. I'm backing up. And then I'm... Bro. How is he doing that? That doesn't make any sense at all. This genuinely makes no sense at all.
It's like it got smaller the closer he got to the window. It got further out. I get it. That is kind of creepy and weird. What is actually going on?
On the day of the eclipse of the sun, some of the crew and passengers of a BOAC Stratocruiser reported seeing mysterious objects in the sky over the Atlantic. When the airliner arrived back in Britain, the pilot, Captain James Howard, was asked to describe these objects by our reporter Peter Meggs.
Well, very conveniently, Captain, we've got a nice blackboard here. Do you think you could illustrate this phenomenon for us? Could you show us what it looked like, very roughly?
I'll try. When I look out of the left-hand window of the nose of a Stratocruiser, I see something like this. Well, that is the port wing. One of the engines is there. And on this occasion, the horizon was at about that level, with low clouds way beneath us. The sun had just set over here, and these objects appeared something like this. The large object appeared at times to be something like that, with the smaller objects in relation to it something like this. They were sometimes ahead of it, sometimes behind, and the shape of this object was continually changing. Sometimes one end would appear to disappear, sometimes this was very much larger, sometimes it was almost a V-shaped affair, like this. It was always black in silhouette, and always quite a clear edge to it.
And when it finally disappeared, it seemed to dissolve.
Yes, the smaller ones just disappeared first, and this just shrunk down until it was no more than just a speck, and then even that disappeared.
Now, would you say that that's possible, some sort of optical illusion, or would you say it was an intelligently navigated craft?
At least 10 of us, the entire crew and some of the passengers, watched this object for 18 minutes. And it maintained station alongside us, some distance away. And I think there's no question that it was no illusion, and that it was being intelligently handled.
On the day of the eclipse of the sun, some of the crew and...
During the eclipse of the sun? That was crazy to see these UFOs pop up, especially shaped like a telephone, an old school telephone. What is going on?
People from every background, but they all have one thing in common. They're all terrified of Ronan Farrow. He's coming for you. He's coming for you. Talking of all you it was a big year for our movies.
Who was that? The Boogeyman?
Shut up. Shut up. I don't care. I don't care. Many talented people of colour were snubbed in major categories. Unfortunately, there's nothing we can do about that. The Hollywood foreign press are all very, very racist. 5th time. And it's still more fun than this, okay? Spoiler alert, season 2 is on the way. So in the end, he obviously didn't himself, just like Jeffrey Epstein. Shut up. I know he's your friend, but I don't care.
Our next presenter starred in Netflix's Bird Box, a movie where people survive by acting like they don't see a thing. Sort of like working for Harvey Weinstein. You did it. I didn't. You did it.
Oh my goodness. Sound like he was throwing haymakers, but I have no idea what they did.
When you look at an electron microscope, everything that's there is now dead. It's killed. So you're looking at the debris or what's left, the carcass of that organism. But what Wright was looking at was a live cell or a live pathogen. And by seeing what it was like alive in that very small state, he could see and determine things that even today people are just beginning to realize. It's called dark field because what Wright was looking for was so small many times that you couldn't stain the object. What they would do with other microscopes, they still do it, they stain the object so that they can brighten it and see it under greater magnifications. The thing is, what Wright was looking for was actually smaller than the molecules of stain. And so what he did, he developed a prism system where he would put in certain fields of light. So it might be only the color of blue or the color red. And what would happen is those spectrums of light or frequencies of light would go in. What would happen is the only thing that would light would be the objects or microorganisms that were purple or red or blue. And everything in the background was dark because there was no other light there. So that's why it's called dark field. You'd have a dark field background, and then these things, these objects would just jump out at you. But from that idea of using frequencies of light to see things that were invisible to other people, he also came up with the idea of what about using frequencies to vibrate the components of those pathogens in order to bring about their destruction. And so that was the next challenge. And he built frequency-based devices, and he had the microscope to validate what he was doing. He cataloged a lot of the things he was doing. There is still film available from Rife's original work. Much of it has been lost. But for the viruses, unlike parasites or bacteria or mold or fungus, viruses are not living organisms, not as we think of something that's alive. A viron or a virus doesn't breathe, it doesn't reproduce by itself, doesn't poop. It's basically, it's got about 3 components. It's genetic material, its instructions, and then it's got a capsid, and then it's got what's called an envelope. And it's like an egg, so it's got a yolk and it's got an exterior layer. And what a virus does is it finds the keyholes of your cells. So if we get a viral infection, it finds those keyholes and it locks in, and it waits for the cell to absorb it. And once it's absorbed inside, it releases its genetic instructions to the cell's manufacturing system. And the cell begins manufacturing more virons. Interesting. And as they begin to multiply, eventually they burst their way out of the cell, and they move on to other cells. And they repeat that process over and over again. The immune system, in most cases, can see that this is a foreign object, and it'll clean up these viruses before they reach the point of, viruses, before they leave the cell, they steal the protein, or they steal some of the information from the cell to cloak itself, to make itself look like it's part of that organism.
How interesting, seeing into the dark matter.
Alright y'all, here we go. I'm standing in front of an abandoned Shoney's. It says restaurant, fresh food bar to go, open 6 a.m. breakfast bar. Watch this. I want to bring you guys over here. We already checked it out. I don't want to lockpick it because there's a lot of people watching right now. But this is an abandoned Shoney's. Look how overgrown it all is. Look at this, look. And look at the inside. Everything is left inside. Everything. Even the power is still running. Can y'all see that? Let me see if I can zoom in a little bit. You know what? Oh, yeah, look at it, look at it. Wait, let me bring you to the other side. Now we're walking over to the other side because I really want to show you guys what's up with this. Look, but the power is still running. And the fans are on too. Look at this. Y'all see that? Yeah. Freaking power's running. The fans are running. Everything's running. Look at that. That doesn't say. Why don't they turn that off? Look, see that light like right there? Look at all the vines growing up on this roof right here too. All right, y'all. Here we go. I'm standing.
That is crazy. How long has that power been running? It'd been crazy if it's been out of business for what, 5 years, and the power's been running for 5 years? Who has to pay for that?
Okay guys, here we go. If you've been following my channel for a while, you'll remember that this is the video that first got me viral. And what I've done is I've come back to it and I've tried to clean the audio up as much as possible. Check it out, here you go.
Okay, yesterday you told us you traveled, and I put thousands of light years to get here. Yes. Tell us the truth or never be true. It is truth. I'm from Earth.
He said, tell us the truth or he was gonna what?
Your future. To travel in time is to travel in space. Offset spatial pathogens. So I take it aliens took over our future. right? So are you.
Every descendant.
Okay, so you evolved from us.
Yes.
So what are you doing here now?
Observing, since evidence was destroyed. Nuclear.
Make sure you like and follow for part 2, and let me know in the comments if you think it's real or not.
I don't think it's real. If you made it this far, the code word is Tuesday Vibes. Go ahead and drop Tuesday Vibes in the comments. It lets me know that you're a real one because you watched it all the way through, and I just want to say thank you. This was the most disturbing videos on the internet today. See you tomorrow.